Yo guys, it's Hart going over my final look core plays here for the Sunday main slate on DraftKings. Hopefully taking down that $1 million in first place. Let's get into it. So before we get into it, if you guys hit that like button and subscribe, it does really help out my channel and I do really appreciate it. So that would be great. But yeah, let's get right into it. I did just release, my video should be out of my top 5, favorite stacks. Make sure to go check that out. I also have like an early look into this slate from earlier on in this week. So if you want like a more in-depth breakdown, check that out, because for this, it's just gonna be super quick. I'm just gonna quickly touch on my favorite plays in each position group and kind of leave you guys with a core you can build off of. So if you need all that other, breakdowns, all the other videos are already out. So check those out on my channel. I'll link a few of them in this video. But for quarterback, I'm just gonna quickly touch on, obviously, Josh Allen looks good in a bounce back spot here against Carolina. Moving on down a little bit more, Lamar Jackson should hopefully be good to go. He's officially questionable, but he's been practicing all week. He's going to be my favorite quarterback play. Probably going to be the highest owned, but it makes sense. That's a great spot there against Chicago, playing at home in front of that crowd. Like, they should be amped up, pumped up, good to go. Hurts, always a really solid option. We know the safe floor with him. Really like Baker there at Tampa Bay, against the Saints. Moving on down a little bit more, Bo Nix going to be super popular against one of the worst defenses in the league. Caleb Williams is fair, like a solid bring back in this spot against the Ravens. Dart has good, rushing upside, and then Flacco is going to be pretty popular. Gets a good spot against the Jets with no Sauce Gardner, and you can use and pair him up with obviously T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Moving on down a little bit more, that's really it. I don't have much interest in really anyone else. You could get acute if you did want to pay down for guys like Tyrod Taylor, if he is good to go and they start him over Justin Fields, $4,500 for a starting quarterback. You could pair him with Breece Hall or Mason Taylor. It's not the best. You could definitely run him skinny if you wanted to, but that is some salary relief if you want that option. Same thing with Andy Dalton with no Bryce Young. Andy Dalton could be some salary relief. I don't love it, but if they're down in the Buffalo game, we've seen games, over the past 2 years where he's gone out there and thrown it for 40 plus times. So he could get some garbage time, touchdowns, go for 250, 300, passing yards, get you 15 to 20 fantasy points at 4,500. That could really help you out in the slate. You just obviously need kind of some of these top guys to not go for like 35, 40 plus. But that does offer you some salary relief. But favorite one right now is going to be Lamar Jackson here in the spot against the Bears. Close to a 50-point game total, about a 7-point spread right now. So he looks fantastic. In terms of running backs, obviously the top 3 look amazing. I mean, it's just nothing else you can really say. They all look fantastic. You should try to get at least one of them in your lineups just because they're all super safe and they all have a huge, huge upside. I'd say Bijan's going to be my favorite. Obviously, he gets a smash spot here against the Dolphins, but we know the upside of CMC. We know the upside of JT. Like, all 3 look amazing. I'm going to throw Bijan in this lineup for now. Moving on down a little bit more, I really, really, really like Saquon. Hopefully, I think it might be that bounce back spot. A.J. Brown got ruled out, so Saquon should hopefully lean on him more, him and Devontae Smith. So they both look like really good options. So absolutely love Saquon there, 7,600. Revenge game narrative. I know this is like the 3rd time he's played him now, the past 2 seasons, but still, this should be the spot where he blows up, hopefully. A-Chan has some interest there. I really like, James Cook. He is kind of the heartbeat of that offense there for the Bills. 2 horrible games, and it makes sense. Like, he's having bad games. They're going to lose. They really need him to do well. I expect a bounce back spot against the Panthers. He's a fringe core play for me. Cadaboo looks solid. Moving on down a little bit more, Rashad White looks great. Going to be one of the highest owned players with no Bucky Irving. Gets a great spot here against the Saints. Bounce back spot after playing a Detroit team where the offense was just in shambles, and then obviously losing Mike Evans. It kind of deflated the team there, but expect a nice bounce back for Rashad White in a good game environment against the Saints. Moving on down a little bit more, absolutely love Derrick Henry, 6,000. I think he's pretty much a core play for me at that price tag. Smash spot. I mean, it's one of the cheapest, probably the cheapest price we've ever seen on Derrick Henry, and I'm going to eat that up. Pause. But it's just an amazing spot against the Bears here at 6,000. Moving down a little bit more, I don't mind Kamara, with no Keandre Miller. He should hopefully get a really heavy workload and a nice bring back option for that Saints game if you do go with like a Baker Mayfield stack. Below that, I will mention Chase Brown. Looked a little bit better, finally hit 100 rushing yards, and they should be up in this game, so he could be viable. That's really it. I don't have much interest in anyone else below that. It's just, there's some really, really good options for running backs and clear options to go with. In terms of wide receiver, Jamar Chase is going to be an amazing option, 8.1. CeeDee Lamb will be kind of that contrarian leverage spot off Jamar Chase if you want to go that route. Nico Collins, it looks like he'll miss. So obviously there's some wide receiver value you can quickly talk about for the Texans if you want to go there. I don't mind getting into Pickens as well. Like if you're afraid of Pat Surtain locking up CeeDee Lamb, Pickens looks really good going against Riley Moss. Egbuka looks fantastic there at the Saints. Number one option for Baker Mayfield, $7,000. Really good. Drake London, he should still see a healthy workload in terms of those targets. I really like Sutton in that matchup. AJ Brown, I think he got ruled out. Yeah, so DraftKings hasn't updated, but he is out. So Devontae Smith, he looks like one of the better plays of the slate. Should get 10 plus targets here. Really, really like him. I'm gonna throw him in there as a core play right now. Just lock him in. Top option for the Eagles. Him and Saquon look great. And if you're going that route, you might want to go with Jalen Hurts as well. Below that, I don't mind getting to Chris Olave once again. T. Higgins looks really good if you're going to the Bengals route or if you just want to get a piece. If you're not going to Jamar Chase, once again, Pittman and the Colts look fantastic. Really like Zay Flowers there. Obviously, if you're going with Lamar, going to pair him up with Zay Flowers 5,400. And that is really it. We can quickly touch on the news. Rashid Shaheed, tournament play, really like him. Same thing with Alec Pierce. They're always tournament options if you need kind of a cheaper wide receiver to go with. The Giants do get Darius Slayton back, kind of like that deep threat option if you did want to take a dart throw on him. I will mention Jerry Jeudy. One of these games he's going to have a blow-up game. It could be this game, 4.1. Saw 13 targets 2 games ago. Obviously, they got up right away against the Dolphins, and they just were pounding it in with Quinton Judkins. This could be a spot where they throw it a lot more because they're down against the Patriots. So I do have a good amount of interest in taking dart throws at Jerry Jeudy. And in terms of the Houston wide receiver room, as of right now, it looks like Collins and Kirk will both be out. I'm recording this on Friday, and I'm posting this Saturday, so I won't be able to stay up to date in terms of what's going to happen in terms of that news. But yeah, I'm most likely going to, assuming they're both going to be out, and then we'll get Hutchinson, Higgins, Knoll, and Braxton Berrios is kind of the main 4 wide receivers. My favorite would be Knoll, and then it'd probably go for me, Knoll, Hutchinson, Higgins, and then Berrios. But yeah, I think getting into at least one of them makes sense. But you could also get to Dalton Schultz, who we'll talk about in a second there. But that's it for the wide receivers. And then in terms of tight ends for me, Ferguson's just a little bit too pricey for me at that price range with Pickens, Javonte Williams, and CeeDee Lamb all healthy. Just, he's been heavily involved, looked really good. I just don't know about 6K for me. Really like Warren. I really, really like George Kittle here on the bounce back spot. Coming in, didn't get a single catch, but he was great blocking the ball. I do think they will reward him. Fannin Jr. looks good. Joku is tracking like he's questionable still. If he's out, really like Fannin Jr. But if Joku is in, I don't know if I'm gonna get to Fannin Jr. I just stick with George Kittle. Dallas Goedert, really valuable now that there's no AJ Brown. He's had a really solid season so far. Already, Evan Ingram, 4,100. He looks really good. If you watch my stack video, he's been heavily involved in that offense. Moving on down a little bit more. A little bit of interest, Theo Johnson, Mason Taylor, if he's good to go. Could be a stacking option with Tyrod Taylor. K. Dotton for, the depleted wide receiver corps for the Bucs. Looks like a nice cheap tight end. Same with Dalton Schultz. He'll be a super chalky tight end there if he's good to go, just because of the depleted wide receiver room, with Nico Collins most likely missing and maybe even Christian Kirk. Below that, not a ton of interest for me. Colson Loveland, he's going to be a really, really solid option with no Cole Kmet. He ran, I think, 80% of the routes in that week last week after no Cole Kmet. So, he's not guaranteed those targets, but if he's going to be out there 3,000 in a game where they should be down and passing a ton, he looks really, really good. And the last one I will mention, going to be Isaiah Likely here, a really viable passing option. He's got a lot of talent. He's been hurt, so no one's been talking about him, but it's 2.6K. He should be out there for at least 50% of the snaps, even with Mark Andrews in there. Really like Likely in his upside there. And then in terms of defense for you guys, I like paying up for defense. I don't really love going down to the lower range. I do think you could get away with going to the The Browns, if you wanted to. I do like that spot against New England. That's really it. Otherwise, I do like paying up for either the Bills, even though they do give up points, but they're going against Andy Dalton, or paying up even more to probably the Colts against just that horrendous Tennessee Titans defense, or maybe the Patriots. For right now, let's just go with. I think right now we'll just throw in the Colts. Leaves you with 4,300 left over. More than enough, especially if you go down to like a value tight end to pay up for some decent guys in the other two spots. But yeah, in terms of core plays, it's going to be this for this weekend. I also do like kind of leveraging off of Bijan Robinson there to kind of free up some more space. So I'll kind of go with these as this final core play look. Lamar Jackson, Rashad White, Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, and the Colts defense as right now. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.